Southern Republican Leadership Conference event about the party and what you see in your polling. Given what you know now, what issues, 2 or 3 issues, do you think will really drive the 2016 campaign?
Well, I think it's going to be in 3 broad areas. One is economics. Obviously, 72% of the American public is saying they're concerned that there may be an economic downturn in the near future. The other is terrorism. It's foreign affairs, but more specifically terrorism. ISIS has really permeated the psyche of the American public. And we now have only 26% saying they do not fear their family being the target of a terrorist attack, which is, quite frankly, lower than it was after 9/11. And the third is the American dream. When asked, do you believe the next generation will do as well financially as this generation, you have 69% saying no. So the combination of those 3 things is really going to be the driver in the presidential race.
One other thing you talked about that I found was interesting is about the middle class. That most folks who you guys talk to say, well, the rich get theirs, the lower class get theirs, and we pay the bill for it. Right. Are Republicans in a position to talk with some conviction and with some sway about being able to help the middle class, you think?
Well, we're not going to have a candidate out there, I think, saying they get $500,000 for a speech, trying to say that they represent the average man. No, I think it's very important. I mean, 70%, 72%, up to 72% of the American public identifies themselves as middle class. I think whichever candidates can do the best on connecting from that, and we have several that come from a middle class background. So I think them being able to connect is going to be extremely important. And them being kind of a voice for the future in terms of changing the direction of the country, which now is 2/3 of Americans think the country's off the wrong track, 54% strongly. That's going to be a real factor in this election and something that the candidates in talking about the middle class need to connect with.
Speaking about the election next year, there are in the GOP field or wannabe field right now, you have governors, sitting governors, former governors, sitting senators, et cetera. Is it easier or more difficult to get to the White House from outside of the U.S. Senate, outside of Washington?
I think some of it has to do with more your job skills, if you will. People elect senators, congressmen based on are you smart enough to legislate. They vote for mayors, governors, presidents based on are you strong enough to lead. And that very much comes into a factor and gives an advantage, quite frankly, to governors that can show their record. Here's what I've done to lead and make a difference in the direction of the country. The other thing we're seeing in the polling that I think is extremely important this year is for the first time we have a 57%, a majority, saying that they're going to base their vote on president on is that person viewed as being effective as opposed to matching their views on the issues. And so that kind of again brings it into it's much harder for a senator to show that they've been effective on key issues as opposed to a governor who can say, here was my plan, here was my program, here's what I did.
Of course, on the other side, you've got Hillary Clinton, apparently, will be is a presumptive nominee. All the mess that she's dealing with now with the emails and foundation, do you think that will carry through with, will she be dragging that along into 2016, do you believe?
Well, I don't, and there's 2 issues there. One is the email situation, the other is the foundation. I think the email situation, the damage has already been done. Which is we saw a 25 point drop of her name ID, her favorables, to a point that she's upside down now on her favorable-unfavorable ratio. That kind of fed right into, it kind of reminded people that the Clintons had lived by a different set of rules when they were there before and lived by a different set of rules now. The foundation issue, I think, is the one that has potential to move further as we get into legalities. I think the bigger issue for her right now is that as she has had to deal with those, there's this invisible primary going on is she going to run for a 3rd term of Barack Obama, or is she going to move more where Bill Clinton was, kind of center-right in terms of kind of understanding that's where the country is and understanding that's where the policy should be. She seems in self-defense to be tacking even further to the left. as she's gotten into these problems, which is not where she wants to be, and will be a real plus for the Republicans.